The major benefits of the DODAF are it provides an integrated architecture framework, provides an enterprise architecture federation, and Charles is going to be showing this, that there is different types of enterprise architectures which are integrated through a mission thread, and the DODAF provides the ability to do that. Models at multiple levels of abstraction. You can model at the strategic level, you can model at the operational level, at the tactical level, and at the infrastructure level. And again, this is a thinking approach, not the tool. This is not a tool issue. This is how you think about your problem. And these are different viewpoints. I remember a story where we were talking to somebody who was a manufacturer of railway wagons, and he asked his workers, what do we produce? And they all answered, wagons. And he said, no, we don't produce wagons, we produce profits. Difference in viewpoint here. And so typically we have to look at viewpoints, and so my next part is really talking about the types of enterprises, which is, there are some few principles that you apply when you architect. Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Albert Einstein. And the whole importance of planning. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln. The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. That resonated with people on enterprise architecture. If we are to perceive, yesterday I was at a SOA conference where a person from the Union Pacific Railroad was talking about how they used enterprise architecture over a 10-year period to migrate from a mainframe-based system to services-based systems. And they looked at their operational processes, they looked at the services, they looked at all those, and it was a 10-year migration time frame. But they started that when the system was still operational, because they knew they could not turn off the system. They were using parts of the system and kept renovating parts of the system and bringing it into the new world. And that's kind of the time to repair is when the sun is shining. The other one which is very interesting is I'm leading a project right now where there are times of the day when we don't know where we're going. And the last one says if we are to perceive all the implications of the new, we must risk at least temporarily ambiguity and resolve. You won't have answers every day, but if you have the vision and you're constantly able to correct your path, you will reach that vision. The other one which is a very important principle is Winston Churchill's statement. The length of this document defends it well against the risk of it being read. All of us are very busy producing long documents on enterprise architecture. And what I found out is that single pager for the right audience. Mike Tiemann has done a wonderful job of those facts which encapsulate all of DODAF and PIAF into single sheets of paper. That single sheet of paper is the concept of operations, a single operational picture that you want to share. To this day, I'm very proud of the fact that in SEC, a business reference model that we built in 2003 is still hanging in people's offices on the wall. As something, this is what we do, this is where I am. And so that to me was the use of a business reference model. Where am I orienting myself in all of this? Turnaround is transformation that's tragically late. So turnaround also has to have an increased speed in it. And incomprehensible jargon is a hallmark of the profession. All of us know that. Right now we are trying to unscramble. Vocabulary is the big thing in enterprise architecture. The DODAF is big on vocabulary and terminology and other kinds of things. But what's happening is we are finding out that trying to harmonize all of the vocabulary is not an easy job at all. I'm working with the acquisition community there and the contracts and logistics and other people, and they all have different names for the same things. Again, the magic silver bullet is XML and namespaces, but not quite. There's a business terminology issue that people are still dealing with. And of course, Jack Welch's change before you have to. So strategies for applying DODAF. A few examples again in my 10 minutes I really can't do all out. But the most important thing is to recognize what kind of a fundamental nature your business is about. Okay, if you're in the airline industry, your location driven. If you're in manufacturing, your process driven. If you're in the disaster recovery business, you're event driven. If you're providing information to the world, you're information driven. So recognizing what I call this prime dimension of your enterprise is a very, very key part of recognizing what you're about. because ultimately everything goes back to putting money on the prime dimension. The other thing which is interesting is the stage of evolution of the enterprise. I would argue that enterprise architecting a $0 to $10 million company is a different approach than enterprise architecting a $10 million to $100 million company. It's different from $100 million to a $1 billion or $1 trillion corporation. With the 1 billion corporation, you're trying to maintain the status quo, or you're trying to grow slowly. In the 0 to 10, you're trying to survive. And in the 10 to 100, you're trying to grow very rapidly, so that you can get out of the danger zone. And so given all of those things, a CXO in a 0 to 10 million has a hands-on view of their business. They have a complete operational view of the business. The 10 to 100 million, the CXO does not have an operational handle on the business. And when you start getting into the 100 million plus, most CXOs are not worried about the day-to-day operations because they know they are under good people and under control. They're worried about exceptions. Which means that an enterprise architect is able to anticipate and bring up exceptions and deal with the aftermath of exceptions as far as the CXO is concerned, not educating them on process models which do everyday operations. It's kind of a key distinction because chief officers have very little time on their hands and they're busy dealing with the problem of the day or planning for the future. They don't care about daily operations. So to stand out there with huge diagrams and models and other kinds of things is not the answer when you go in front of them. So in the DODAP, basically you have to choose that part of the DODAP which show change and transition and exceptions. The other which is interesting in the nature of the business is ops tempo. Anybody know about ops tempo? It's the frequency with which you perform your operations. If you're in a war and you're shooting bullets and you're shooting bullets for an hour, you're going to consume X number of bullets. You do that for 1 day, that's a lot of bullets. So ops tempo generally is related to the amount of waste, the amount of delay, the building up of problems to bigger problems, escalation, those kind of things. So again, when you're an enterprise architect, you have to choose the right models to deal with ops tempo that you're trying to deal with. I just talked about a little bit about this. So some examples of location-driven enterprises is sensitivity to terrain. The big thing about location-driven enterprises, one example is $8 a gallon of gas. If you're a location-driven enterprise, that's a big deal. Examples of those are some of these. Motivation-driven enterprises, event-driven enterprises. Christmas is an important event for customers. Information-driven enterprises. And these are all non-DoD enterprises. I'm just trying to show that if you can fundamentally characterize your enterprise, you can apply a lot of techniques because they're natural to your type of enterprise.